Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our channel Cine Series Recap. Today, we have something truly epic in store for you. Get ready to dive deep into the action-packed world of one of the most beloved assassins of all time. That's right, we're talking about none other than John Wick 4. With a gripping storyline, jaw-dropping stunts, and intense fight sequences, the John Wick franchise has captured the hearts of fans around the globe. And now, we're here to bring you an exclusive recap of everything you need to know of John Wick 4. I'm really thrilled to bring you the film of the year, John Wick Chapter 4. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to my channel, where we discuss all genres of movies. Without wasting time, let's roll. The fourth chapter of John Wick begins with John Wick training. The Bowery King enters the scene and presents him with a new suit and asks if he is ready.
Yeah.
The scene cuts to the desert where John is chasing three horsemen. They run for their lives. The elder watches from a distance. John then takes down the second horse rider and finally the last one as well. He stops and gets off his horse while reloading as he walks towards the elder. When the elder asks what he owes this pleasure to, and John says he wants his ring and his freedom back, he says he no longer has the ring and tells John that the only peace he will ever have is in death, and the only way John Wick will ever have freedom or peace. John doesn't give a fuck and shoots him twice. As Karen returns to the hotel, the Harbinger enters and delivers her an envelope, demanding on speaking with the manager. Karen phones Winston, informing him of the situation and enabling the Harbinger to ascend to the upper levels. Harbinger then informs him that the hotel has been condemned and hands him an hourglass with 1 hour to depart. He further claims that the 12 members of the High Table have signed a document authorizing Marquis to act as judge, jury, and executioner.
Evacuate the hotel.
Winston and Karen then proceed to a meeting with Marquis. They enter the room and witness an hourglass as Marquis offers an incredible phrase: "Second chances are the refuge of failing men." Winston claims he shot John Wick, and Marquis laughs, saying he's still alive and fouling everything he touches. He goes on to add that the Continental is being evicted from the dirty city of New York, and Karen emphasizes the significance of everyone, even the High Table, obeying the rules. Marquis blames Winston for Wick's actions, and when the final grains of sand fall, the Continental Hotel explodes. Winston is then proclaimed excommunicado, and Marquis shoots Karen instead of Winston. Karen's final words are lovely, just a brief interjection. Kane, a blind man in Paris, overhears a young girl playing music in a small crowd. Shortly after he is summoned to a meeting with Marquis, who wastes no time in getting to the point. Kane almost breached the terms of his deal by getting too close to his daughter that day. Despite having retired, Marquis threatens to take Kane's daughter's life if he does not comply with their demand that he take a life. We arrive in Japan and meet Akira, who allows the dog entry as an emotional support animal. She then walks with the manager, Shimazu, who is also her father. She tells him that everyone is on edge because he has a relationship with John Wick, and that this could result in an unforeseeable future with the High Table. Shimazu tells her not to worry because they have done nothing wrong. After leaving her, he goes upstairs to meet John Wick. He tells him that killing the elder was a mistake and that he has learned of Karen's death. John is upset and refers to Shimazu as a dear friend. Downstairs, the tracker notices John Wick in his book and realizes that the concierge from the High Table is in the hotel. They go to Akira and ask for the manager. Akira advises them to settle in as Shimazu will be with them. He goes downstairs and greets them.
How may I be of service?
They believe the hotel is helping John Wick. They demand full hotel access. He agrees, but on the condition that they hand their guns over because no business can be done on Continental grounds. Men to get locked and loaded. They all go to arm themselves and are prepared for war if necessary. Then Kane appears and welcomes Shimazu. They converse about their friendship before the concierge orders them to depart because the hotel has been deconsecrated. Come back on very weakly as a hit squad in full bulletproof armor enters the building and is given the order to find John Wick. As the men flee to the rooftop as archers surround them, shooting and killing a few men as swords are drawn. But the hotel wins and shoots the last guy remaining. John and Akira are assaulted. Marksman rounds are fired by Akira, killing some guys. Akira and John attempt to flee the building and start killing everybody in their sights. Kane gets involved in the action, and for a blind guy he beats the living hell out of his opponents. The remaining troops kill anyone inside at the hotel. John knocks down a couple of the guys in her path, but Akira murders and massacres them all. After she is injured, her father comes to her aid and kills the assailants. He picks up his daughter and instructs John to return the way he came. On the way, he encounters 4 attackers, of which he easily dispatches 2 before engaging the remaining 2 in combat and killing them with 1,000,000 bullets through their armor. He then picks up a rifle. John is then ambushed by an NBA-sized player and decides that he is into nunchucks. He takes on 2 of them but ends up pulling out his pistols and killing them. He executes some sick movements as he swings and kills the man. After taking a brief respite, Kane enters and engages him in combat. At first, they simply pull the trigger at one another, but Kane eventually has the upper hand. At that point, the tracker starts firing, which allows John to escape. The bounty for John has been increased to $20 million, which is a lot of money. As he steps outside, he kills another man and takes his medallion. A dog then appears out of nowhere and kills 2 attackers. The tracker then makes himself known, leaving John perplexed. The tracker then kills an attacker from behind and informs John that they are cooperating. At this point, Akira and her father are attempting to flee but are discovered by Kane. He orders them to Shimazu, who is stabbed by Kane after he easily has the upper hand in the battle. Kane shows mercy on Akira and allows her to flee as she rushes to her dying father. When John finds himself in the train station and Akira is also there, she accuses him of causing all of this mayhem and demands that he murder Kane immediately or she will return to New York. In a scene where the tracker is meeting with Marquis, he tells him that he will find and kill John for $25 million, but after Marquis stabs his hand, they negotiate and decide on $23 million. Later, Winston tells the Bowery King that he needs to speak to John. He tells him that didn't turn out well the last time. John and Winston meet at Karen's memorial, and John should challenge Marquis to a one-on-one fight instead of running out of guns before they run out of heads. Winston advises, because the high table members can do so and must accept if the challenge is made. John is instructed by Winston to make amends with his family, who are already seated at the high table. The scene switches to Marquis speaking on the phone with the tracker, who tells him that John is in Berlin, and Marquis says either John dies or him back inside the church as John arrives in Berlin and enters a church. As he approaches the altar, the priest pulls out a gun and shoots at John, telling him to wear a nice suit. As John brings up the one-on-one match, his family tortures him and threatens to kill him. They promise to make amends if they kill the person responsible for their father's death. They would fix his ticket, allowing him to return to his family. He claims that he needs a way in, and they send Claus to assist him. When Kane enters, the killer Harkin chuckles and reveals that John had been set up by his family, who had abandoned him to protect themselves. Kane and the killer Harkin aim their guns at each other, and when the tracker arrives as another guest, he takes a seat next to John Wick. As well, all 3 men want to be the one to kill John Wick, and so they play a game of cards to decide, and as the dealer somehow draws a 5 of a kind.
Say it already lost. Let me guess. 5 of kind?
John slices him and everyone starts attacking each other. Shots are fired, and John makes his way inside the club where he begins to dismantle every man coming his way. He finds the killer Harkin and chases him until he throws him off the stair. Killing him, he takes his tooth out as evidence. By killing him, he makes his way back to the church where his family accepts him back and do an initiation for his return. Winston walks into a room where Marquis is surprised to see him. He hands him. The duel notices that the turns for John's victory is his freedom as well as Winston's title and rebuilt hotel at the high table's expense. John is escorted to a table and seated across from Marquis as they flip cards to determine the venue, time, and weapon of the duel. After Marquis informs him that Winston is the second and that he will either walk away a champion or in the grave. The duel will take place at sunrise with pistols, but Marquis steps in for Kane as John leaves. Kane declares he won't be his second and won't fight. Marquis asserts that if he wins, he and his daughter are freed. And the opposite is also true. John returns to the church and runs into Kane there. They have a cordial conversation about their loved ones, and he asks about Helen. Kane tells John that he is a dear friend. John bids him farewell and departs, heading toward an abandoned train station where he encounters the Bower King.
Bonjour, Monsieur Wick, and welcome.
John presents the Bower King a suit and tells him that if he is being married or buried, he must look his best. The contract for Wick has now changed to seek and destroy and has been raised to a monstrous $26 million, which Barkey informs his main guy. His man understands and begins looking for him. John Wick tells the Bowery King he wants a gun.
9mm pit viper.
So the Bowery King provides him a handgun with a 21 mag capacity and over 50 additional technological advantages of the gun. After taking John on a boat excursion and telling him that's as near as they can get to the church because he is pleased, John exits and the radio station is immediately informed of his location. They announce it on the radio, and at the same time, he notices numerous men approaching from all sides. The fight begins, and as he dispatches the first two, he is struck by a car, the driver is killed, and he is rammed by another car. He deals with them and likes the idea of ramming people. He then uses the car as cover while killing a few more people, and he drives his car is then hit by one of the men in the middle and overturned. John prepares for battle and kills 4 soldiers with ease. The 5th engages him in close combat, but was quickly defeated as well. The right hand of Marquis chases after John as they engage in a fist fight and he throws him onto an approaching car. After that, they continue fighting until he is also thrown onto a car. At which point John picks up his gun and flees. The situation becomes chaotic as cars are rammed into and people are hit by bullets. When the tracker shows up, he gets strapped and John starts running around killing anything that moves. When the tracker starts shooting at John, he flees and jumps on a bike. They pursue him and corner him. As he pulls off a sick-ass move, he makes his way inside a building where he can give himself the advantage. He starts killing his attackers one by one until he is pretty much alone. The tracker then receives a call from Marquis, who asks for $35 million for John Wick before hanging up. The tracker then begins killing his competitors in order to win the reward for himself. When Marquis calls him back, the tracker demands $40 million immediately. John stays inside the building and uses a specially manufactured rifle to kill 2 attackers. In the following 10 seconds, he kills like 10 guys. Marquis agrees, and everyone is informed of the prize money rise. The tracker is also shooting at will until they start fighting each other. They get into a fist fight and John gets him at gunpoint. As Marquis' right-hand man is aiming his gun at the tracker's dog instead of saving himself, John saved the dog and the tracker immediately realizes that John is one trustworthy individual. John runs out of the building and looks at his watch. It is near sunrise, but his location is announced once again. He has a good stare down with his attack hackers until he starts blasting his trigger like a game with levels. He has to take out a few men every flight of stairs he climbs. He kills and kills and kills some more until he reaches the top. After he gives up, Kane arrives and instructs him to resume climbing.
What time is sunrise?
He pulls him up, and they begin battling their way to the top. He is then tossed down the first flight of steps till he is battered and kicked down to the bottom of all the stairs. The right-hand man of the Marquis is one again battling with John, but this time he has had enough and knocks John to the ground. Kane and John are a lethal combination as they effortlessly dispatch several attackers, making their way to the top. As John is ready to pass away, the tracker arrives and sees his dog before deciding to shoot the attacker in order to save John's life. After Kane and John leave, Kane approaches the guy and uses a pencil to puncture his hand, subduing him. The tracker then turns to face the man who injured his puppy and attacks him, killing him and peeing on him as retaliation. Once more, John simply makes it in time for dawn. As the tracker sits down to partake in the show, the 2 men remove their vests. They are given a gun each, and here arranged to take their positions. Kane lets him know, "See you in the following life."
See you in the next life, brother.
They remove 30 feet from one another and are given a shot. Kane advises Marquis to shut the fuck up. Winston and John partake in the dawn. John requests Winston's final words and he advises him to have a great time out there. The Harbinger inquires as to whether the 2 men are prepared. When they concur, he says shoot. Kane is hit in the shoulder and that is all there is to it. They draw nearer to one another and reload their guns. He says shoot again. John cops one in the shoulder and Kane gets it in the stomach area. They are commanded to step closer. They reload once again and some sad music is being played, knowing that one must die. Everyone simply stands still while waiting for the call. Winston notices that John is bleeding out while also showing worry for the tracker. Marquis then moves up to Kane to ask for his gun as he takes the last round. As John approaches, Kane approaches him and points the revolver at him after asking whether his daughter is free. When John looks at Winston, Winston insists he didn't shoot, but John pulls the trigger and hits him in the head. The tracker rejoices and the Harbinger checks on Marquis. The Harbinger informs John that he has fulfilled his job and is now free to do as he pleases. Winston is informed by Kane that he and his daughter are also free. They end their transaction and leave after John tells Kane that he owes him one, implying that he didn't murder Kane on purpose and that he will be restored and the hotel will be rebuilt. John asks Winston, "Would you take me home?"
Jonathan?
Winston looks at his wound and replies, "Of course." John is alone on the stairs as he thinks of Helen and whispers that word before slowly collapsing on the ground. Not going to lie, this nearly brought tears to my eyes. We are at the graveyard of John and Helen's graves next to one another. The Bowery King, Winston, and John's dog stand there. Bowery King say he never thought he'd see this day. Winston is broken and puts his hand on the tombstone and says, "Farewell, my son." Thus, movie ends in another sunrise. In the thrilling world of John Wick, every move counts, just like every click, like, and subscription counts for us. So, if you've enjoyed this journey through the action-packed franchise, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Together, let's continue to explore the exciting realms of film and entertainment. Remember, it's your support that keeps us going. Stay tuned and stay connected. Thank you for being a part of our channel's family. Stay awesome, and we'll catch you in the next video.
It's not my fault, you know I had to walk away. It's been 5